So here we are. It's like May 4th or 5th today, I think. This is one of the earliest times we've ever planted corn. We got these two little plots going into corn today, and that'll be it. A lot of our other bigger plots will be primarily soybeans this year. We'll be doing those probably in the next 2 to 3 weeks probably. This one will be kind of a fun experiment right here. I seeded in this winter rye because we had pumpkins here last year. Obviously it's coming back real good. This is the earliest I've ever seeded or drilled into the winter rye. Normally I wait till the stuff's a little taller to crush it down better. I'm just gonna pack it down with the tractor tires after we drill through it, and obviously spray that with glyphosate. Both this plot and the other plot over there will be getting sprayed with simazine later today too. Hopefully there's a small chance of rain tonight and a couple more chances next week. So hopefully we can get that simazine washed into the ground and start to be effective, because last year on a lot of my corn ground, my pre-emergent wasn't too effective because it was so dry. So this is going to be kind of both these plots will be there'll be like 4 different types of corn in both these plots. There's still got a little bit of that silage corn left over from like 2 or 3 years ago. I kind of want to just have 4 different comparisons. I could just do the whole thing into one thing and it would turn out fine, but I like having a little bit of variety and different results. I still have a little bit of 108-day NutriCrave from last year. I got a bunch of 100-day NutriCrave for this year and 100-day field corn. So I haven't quite made up my mind yet where I want to put what, but I'm thinking NutriCrave in the middle on this plot and in the middle of that plot. I got a couple NutriCrave rows in the no-till and a couple NutriCrave rows over here. Fertilized both these spots today. You can still see some fertilizer right here. So that's the only thing that won't be a true comparison, because this fertilizer is just sitting right on top where this stuff got incorporated in the ground a couple inches down. So that makes a difference. But this has all been fertilized the last couple years, so there should be still some leftover fertilizer deep under the ground that didn't get used up last year, because this fertilizer you spread, the plants can't even utilize all of it the first year. It takes a little bit for that stuff to break down, just like lime. So yeah, NutriCrave in the middle. I'm thinking maybe silage corn over there, and then 100-day corn, and then 100-day corn on this side, and then something like that over there in that plot too. I'll get a little bit of time-lapse footage maybe of planting, and then you'll see when this stuff starts popping up. Well, out here with the first update of these 2 little sections of corn. The other spot's right over there. The NutriCrave, I noticed, came up like faster, and I knew the planter was planting it thicker because the seed's a little smaller. So I mean, like, that's too thick right there. But then we got whatever, like 5 inches, probably like 8 inches, but then there's 2 of them. So it was dropping 2 seeds at once in certain spots. But there is, I mean, that's a pretty old planter and pretty inconsistent. It's nothing like, you know, today's latest greatest stuff, but it gets it in the ground good, and it's definitely probably a little bit too thick, the NutriCrave. I don't think it's going to be super thick where we'll have like a really bad yield reduction and maybe root lodging, but definitely it's not the greatest comparison to this 100-day corn where the seed was a little bigger. The spacing is probably more ideal, but then there is big gaps, and I guess there is one coming up right here. But you can clearly see, I should have took this video like a couple days ago or something, but there's still a couple of them that are just coming up out of the ground on this 100-day corn. You can see it's clearly behind. And then right there, these are the first rows of NutriCrave. Actually, I take that back. This is 100-day corn. That flag down there is where the NutriCrave row starts. So it's looking pretty good. This field has a lot less weeds than that other spot. I think that has mainly to do with that ground down there was already pretty moist when we planted, where this stuff was pretty much dry. So that moist ground already had weeds germinating. So my pre-emergent, it'll be effective once I kill those weeds. It's in effect right now. But right here, this ground was drier. And we got rain the day we planted, as you saw. So this stuff was watered in and effective right away. So there is a few grasses starting, but really not much overall. So it's looking pretty good. I mean, now that I look, there is weeds in here, but not terrible. And this is all set up on the 38-inch rows, so we'll cultivate this probably about 2 times with the old cultivator. And the field corn I'll probably spray at least once. Maybe I won't have to. I'll take you down over to that spot. You'll see there's definitely more weeds starting. So right here, this is where it switches from the no-till rye to the worked up ground. Now there is areas in here that look pretty clean. There is not too many weeds starting here. This is the NutriCrave that I'm in right now. And I believe, yeah, this flag right up here is where it ends. And then this is field corn, 100-day field corn right here. This stuff in the rye here is obviously a little bit slower to push its way through, but it's coming up. It's looking pretty good. See, we got 2 plants there, 1 here, 1 there, 1 there, 1 there. So they're in there, just not quite as even of emergence, because you can see like this one's a little bit behind. Not really seeing much right here. Yeah, kind of a big gap right there until you get to here. You can start to kind of see the rows right there. We'll give it some time and you'll be able to see these ones coming up a little bit easier. This is the second cultivation pass on this corn. I sprayed pretty heavy pre-emerge simazine the day we planted. This is what it looks like before. You can see a lot of grass in this plot. There is some broadleafs scattered throughout, water hemp. That's what this is right here. It's all brand new little water hemp plants germinating. Lamb's quarters is in here. Some of these might be ones that survived last time, and then this is just like some deep-rooted broadleaf. I don't know what this stuff is hard to kill with glyphosate or cultivating, but thankfully they're pretty sporadic. They're not going to cause any real loss. Anyways, this looks amazing. This NutriCrave is probably thicker than what it should be, but thankfully we got these wide 38-inch rows to, you know, space this stuff out a little bit. If it was any thicker, I am still worried about some root lodging or stalk snapping a little bit, because I know in one of our wetter fields, this NutriCrave got kind of, it started tilting left and right. It didn't really look like a row anymore because everything was kind of leaning one way or the other because it was planted thicker than what it should have been. The seed is pretty small, so I tried a different plate and it still was planting it pretty thick, as you can see. And then that flag right up there is the last row of NutriCrave. Then these 2 rows are silage corn, leftover seed from, I think I said earlier, but I think it's like maybe 3 years ago, 2021. That's what these 2 rows are. And then from here to the fence line is all 100-day field corn. I came through here and sprayed this edge because I got these rows a little bit tighter and double planted here. Probably last weekend, I don't remember exactly. That's what you can see. Some of this stuff survived, but pretty much nuked most of it. We've been cultivating up to this last row here. The NutriCrave has kind of a wavier leaf, more so than that field corn variety, and it kind of looks more like the silage corn. And having this wavy leaf like this helps shade out the ground a little faster, it seems like. I don't know, but this stuff, if it doesn't get root lodged, it should turn into some really good corn. Man, that just looks beautiful. It's like a perfectly tilled field again. Generally the last couple years we've been just doing for sure 2, sometimes 3 passes if the weeds are coming up bad. If you go at a fast enough pace, it throws the dirt like that right by the base of the plant to cover up any weeds that, you know, that might have been there that it didn't rip out of the ground. But that pre-emerged simazine still might be holding back at least 50% of the weeds or so. I'm not sure, but the field looked pretty clean before we even did the first pass, but it definitely is helping because there has been other weeds popping up. And that wetter ground field I'll take you to next, that field definitely has more weeds coming back. It's a wetter area. That's just true for any wet area. It's just generally there's more weeds, more broadleafs. So the other plot's just right over there. Here's the wetter plot right here. No till compared to the tilled. I did spray this no-till section the same day I sprayed that far edge over there, because there was a few scattered velvets and broadleaf weeds coming up here and there, but for the most part it was pretty clean. It was mainly just on these edges where I wouldn't have got as much pre-emerge down, and I don't really see any, like some of this probably, that's how big it would have been. It was a few scattered here and there out here. You can see this is pretty patchy because our planter's obviously not a true no-till planter, so some of these seeds didn't get put in deep enough and didn't germinate, but for the most part still looks all right. This is all the 100-day field corn right here. We got a couple weaker rows right here, kind of yellow. Maybe it just didn't get as much fertilizer or something. But I think what it could be is because those pink flags right here, that's where the NutriCrave starts and stops. So basically everything to the left is the NutriCrave, and that's where some of these weaker rows are. It seems like the NutriCrave corn didn't like getting drilled no-till into this rye, where the field corn looks a little better drilled no-till. That's the only thing I can think of, but although that one row just to the right of those flags is a field corn row, and then that's another field corn row, and it gets better. So maybe it's just a bad spot in the field right here, who knows. I know I wanted to put a couple rows of the NutriCrave into this rye. Obviously I didn't spray them, and this has just had one pass of cultivation. You can see there's definitely more weeds coming back in here compared to the other field. Probably get this done sometime in the next couple days here. This will definitely need another pass. I could spray this, but it will just be easier to do it with the cultivator, now that we got it all set up. Right in here, I think this might be the first row right here, this might be the first row of the silage corn, and then the field corn starts going this way. You can see it has kind of a wavier look, kind of like this NutriCrave. Here's one spot in the NutriCrave here that I didn't cultivate because it was kind of getting tight with this tighter row here. You know, you gotta drive down the planter rows. I didn't want to rip out all this other corn over here because this row is a little tighter than what it should have been to fit the cultivator through. So I had to pick up a little early. And if we wouldn't have cultivated any of that NutriCrave, like this is NutriCrave right here, so that's why I didn't spray right here. It goes up to that flag. All the NutriCrave would have had just solid water hemp coming in like this if we wouldn't have hit it with the cultivator. And like I said, I put a heavy dose of simazine down on this whole plot. And right here is NutriCrave that I never cultivated up to, this is the last row of NutriCrave. So this never had any glyphosate sprayed, never had any cultivation. So that's what you get when you till, that's what you get when you no-till. Now granted, that corn over there looks better than this. I don't know if that's just because this is a bad spot in the field or if that's just because the NutriCrave doesn't do as good no-till. I don't know, we'll see. Because field corn over here looks fine, but that's just a pretty stark difference. There's like literally nothing coming up in this rye, this dead rye here. Well, here we are doing the final cultivation pass. My dad was cultivating that field right over there. That was the last time you saw these plots. That was like a week ago already. I haven't been able to get into this plot until today. Just got out here. Gonna probably cultivate this. It'll probably take 15 minutes or so. This is what it looks like after 2 cultivation passes. I did spray this with glyphosate. It doesn't even look like it. The weeds were smaller than this when I sprayed it, like I said in the last update. And this whole area was treated with simazine too the day we planted. But this cultivator, I mean, the weeds can't survive this. They might be able to, a lot of this is lamb's quarters, water hemp. Like this is probably one that survived. You see how he looks kind of stressed from the chemical? But these are all new ones that have popped up since then. And some more water hemp coming up right here. This is lamb's quarters. Anyways, not too much is gonna survive this. Final pass of this, it's really cleaning up the plot. I mean, right here, the cranes must have thinned out this row or something. I mean, this would really fill them with weeds. It probably still will. This one right here, this water hemp plant, this sucker would probably be like 5 or 6 feet tall by the end of the growing season. But yeah, this is really helping to clean up the plot. We could have got in here the same day that we did that plot, but we were just running low on time that night. So yeah, looking good. Here's a quick look at the, I might have one more final update, or I might just upload this now to get a video out. This is where it switches from field corn to NutriCrave. Like I said in the other updates, you can see the NutriCrave's planted definitely a little thick, a little thicker. Pretty weak spot in the plot here, as you saw last time. I'm not sure exactly what's causing this, but I know this, it's not the best to plant the corn into the rye like this. The soybeans do better, but the majority of this plot looks just fine. And there definitely is less weeds over here, considering this has never been cultivated because it's hard packed, no-till ground. Only treatment this got was the simazine the day we planted, and I did spray this with gly. And there's a few little weeds coming back, but nothing really to worry about. If I have to, I'll just spray it one more time with gly. Like right here's a little patch that's getting pretty bad. But for the most part, the rye does a pretty good job of holding back these weeds. And you can see these areas where there's less rye, there's definitely more weeds coming in. The rye releases like a toxin into the soil that it kind of prevents a lot of weeds from coming up. I mean, you're still gonna get some, but I think I'm definitely gonna do more acres with soybeans next year into the rye, because I can get pretty good weed control on my corn with the simazine and cultivating, but the soybeans have been a struggle. So yeah, this is looking amazing. Wherever the rye is the thickest, that's where the weed control is actually the best. Stuff might be a little bit behind, but it's not too bad really. Most of it looks pretty similar. So right here's another thin spot. This could also be because of this tree here. This stuff's definitely a little smaller. It's thinner too because not all the seed got in the ground when we planted this crop, most likely. But this tree is definitely starting to screw up this little area right here where I'm standing in. But down this way, it's pretty much full sun. It looks pretty good. Probably just end up uploading this pretty soon here, so this might be the last update. Canopy should be closed over here in the next 2 or 3 weeks, I would assume, or really close to. So yeah, looking good. All right, so here's the final look at this plot. I just finished cultivating over there. It's still the same day. About a week ago, like I said, my dad cultivated this, and this was the last time you seen it. Pretty much no weeds have come up in a week. We haven't really got much rain, so that's probably another reason why. But yeah, like I said, this NutriCrave definitely is smaller seed. It got planted thicker than what it should have been, so I hope we don't have root lodging issues when this stuff starts to get taller. So, and then boom, right over here, here's the field corn. You can see it's definitely more sporadic and actually thinner than what it should be. So I got corn that's corn that's thinner than it should be, and corn that's thicker than it should be. So it's not really the greatest comparison or anything, but we'll definitely be able to tell which one they like better for eating. But for growth wise, it's a little bit messed up. But it's gonna turn out into a pretty solid plot. This is, if this stuff doesn't root lodge, this would be some really high yielding, basically pushing this stuff to the max, probably almost thicker than what it should be. So maybe it won't be as good as I think, but you can see it dropped a lot of 2 seeds at once. I started using a different plate halfway through my NutriCrave plantings, so you'll see some of that in some other NutriCrave areas. It isn't quite as thick. I kind of eliminated where it was dropping 2 at once like that, but it's still thicker than the field corn. But yeah, this stuff's really getting close to canopying over. It's, even on these really wide rows, it's pretty much canopied over already in the tallest areas out here. So yeah, it's looking good. No, I'm not seeing any nutrients deficiency on this corn at all. No yellowing. So I didn't even throw down that much nitrogen. I didn't put any urea down. All I did was probably on this half-acre plot, about 1, maybe a bag and a half of the 9-23-31. And I've been doing that probably for the last 2-3 years. It's just been getting like basically a bag to a bag and a half. This is only a half acre, so it's really not getting fertilized super heavy. I know that granular fertilizer, only supposedly like 10 to 20% of it's only available the first year. So I'm still getting some fertilizer benefits from the fertilizer I applied last year, and probably some from the year prior too. It takes a while for that stuff to break down in the soil and be usable by the plants. Whereas a foliar fertilizer, like that's 100% available the first year when you spray it. So this stuff's looking really good. Almost too good, like I said, too thick. Anyways, I'll just shut up and stop talking here. It's probably a half-hour video. I'll be having a lot more corn and soybean videos coming, and eventually brassica videos obviously too. So right now, this is probably my best looking corn right here. So it's looking good.